So I was going to speak to you today for about 25 minutes on some of the thoughts that I have about what I'm seeing today, many of which you'll be familiar with, but contextualizing that, putting it all together, and sort of giving us some points of reference for the discussions that we have later, but also for the way in which you take it back to work and the way in which you dialogue with your businesses. The big things that are happening, in my view, are threefold. Competition. We are a much more competitive environment, but the question that I think you have to ask yourself is that competition just internal, i.e. within the industry? Is it success to take money off another bank only? Or is there external? Are we also aware of the fact that clients do business in their wealth context outside the wealth management industry? Well, the answer should be yes. But how do we respond to that competitively? What are we doing to keep up with the pace? It isn't one small market, it's one very large market. Convergence. I set our business up, I often say I set it up in an analog world. Back in the 90s when a calculator was something that you put in your pocket, not a phone. And now we're in a digital environment where everything that you do from the minute you wake up, and in fact even when you're asleep, is digitized. But are we doing that in wealth management? Do we think in a digital way? And from a leadership development perspective, HR and recruitment perspective, are we really digital? So analog and digital. And then culture. This is the one that I probably feel most strongly about. It's probably the piece of unfinished business when we set up our manifesto in 1998 of what we could do for the industry. And changing the culture. There is a mindset that private banking wealth management is about secrecy, it's about personal contact, and that's about it. But in reality, it's about a lot more. And I did help, and I think others here recognize that, by turning us around and saying, let's look at the client. What are their issues? What do they feel? And I'm going to show you some ideas around that, but what do we have to do to modernize as an industry? And again, it's about how we recruit. It's about how we work. It's about how we engage. So, first of all, where are we today? Well, we're an industry. Back in the early, mid-90s, there was one institution that had more than $100 billion of assets. One. There are now 4 institutions last year that were accounted for that had essentially $2 trillion and above. If you look at the growth rates here, last year, all 25 institutions had double-digit growth rates. You were a loser if you didn't have more than about 11%. This has probably been the most significant year of growth in our industry. Some of it's to do with currency referencing for some institutions, but the big message, I would say, is that within 5, maybe 10 years at the most, there will be 5 institutions that have close to, if not already have, 5 trillion of assets under management. The scale of our business growth is vast. And I didn't know that. I was very lucky when we set our business up, but I think you have to contextualize that. That represents millions and millions of customers. Do we have the scale in our business to support that? Do we have the people that support that scale? And what scale support do they need to have? So what's actually going on in terms of wealth management from the human mind? I mean, on the left-hand side, the way that we used to be as wealth managers, and I don't think I want to isolate your thinking to just the relationship manager. We talk a lot about that individual. It's about like when we talk about the millennials. You know, it's all about them. But there are other people around them in the fabric of our business as a human capital business that we need to think about. And they were running procedurally. They were qualified, excellent qualified people. But they were compliant. They followed a specific way of doing things, and they took orders. And fundamentally, as a business model, they were reactive. Someone had to ask to do something. In the new world order that we are, we're looking for people that can detect patterns. We're looking for people that have foresight, that can anticipate, that can work with clusters of information, that can work with clusters of clients in a more dynamic way, that can customize solutions, and are better at decision-making than they were in the past. They weren't just waiting for an order to be given. So what's happening in the wealth machine? We used to measure ourselves as success. I even showed you earlier, it's about how big you are. It's about how much you can produce. It's about who I own and no one else can have. It's about control. It's about not allowing people to move between one institution and another. It's about the difficulty once you're in. And it's also very dependent on wealth management about us as our workforce always coming up with the next big idea, pulling a rabbit out of the hat. That pressure has got to the boiling point. And where we are now is if you want to win in this space, you need to know about how much data you have. I'm not suggesting that data should be the forecourts for desensitizing a relationship with wealth people. Not at all, but data will help you to do better. It's about tailoring, it's about optimizing and matching. It's about things that you're seeing within the fintech world, but you're also seeing within the large cap financial institutions, not just in finance, but also in other industries as well. It's about how we keep people in our lives as clients, but also expect and accept that they can work with other operators too. We had that before. We used to talk almost derisively as an industry saying, well, of course you know that a wealthy individual will have 4 accounts. How unfaithful were they? Well, in reality, the reason that they were with 4 other accounts is because we kept moving. Not because the clients chose to move. It's because the workforce chose to move. And they followed because they were loyal. So what do we do to reward that loyalty? What do we do to allow them to feel free and engaged? Because if you do, they're going to value you. And they're going to value the relationship they have with you, not just in a manual and analog context, but also in the environment that you offer, in the ecosystem that's digital as well. I think we've got there in the industry that we understand a customer journey. I don't think many in wealth management really believe that it means it's kind of that's what marketing does. But some of the bigger institutions, some of the more profitable institutions, because you don't just have to be big, are beginning to say, it isn't just about the relationship manager, it's about everything we do along the way to win and manage and multiply relationships with clients. Then, of course, there's the reboarding. It's not a case of just selling one part of the product. It's about the full relationship. Most people want a frictionless life. Most people. And actually, those people want you to be able to help them. And the more you help, the more they do with you. That's behavior. What do we do here? How do we remain connected to our clients? How do we make me, you, we're all customers of some form or the other in wealth management, help to get more customers? How do we make you an extra resource in our business? In the digital world, the companies that you are customers of in your retail life, in your social life, are spending most of their time working about how you can help them grow. Most clients now will say, and will be, value-driven, and work out what value means to them, right? Because value isn't just about price. It's also about delivery. It's about experience. It's about relevance. It's about engaged. I'm happy to pay for an espresso, which I know fundamentally is twice the price of Cafe Pod, but I feel I get value. You may disagree with me, but that's my choice. And it's exactly the same in financial services and very much the same within wealth management. Clients want to collaborate, as do we. Why are we here today? Collaboration allows you to evolve, allows you to learn, allows you to improve your knowledge. Remember, most of these people are highly successful. They're at the top end of the spectrum in terms of achievement and ability. They know, the more they do, the more they earn, the more they become. We enable them. This is going on around us and our industry for a while. And this is why I'm excited for the industry, because it's no longer there. But it just celebrated its achievements of the past. We've got enough money, we do secrecy, and we manage cash. Job done. No. The world of wealth management has to move forward because the customers are demanding it. We can now transact with the platform. For a while, probably about 2000 to 2010, there was a lot of resistance in our industry saying, that's bad news, it disenfranchises the relationship manager, they're the essence of our proposition, we will die. But actually, as I showed you earlier, double-digit growth rates in the last year, we're not dying, we're changing. Wealth management isn't just about what we do inside. In our enclosed ecosystem, wealth management touches on the retail, the healthcare, the transport, the property, insurance, everything. Clients are people. And they are consumers. They also benchmark the experiences that they have in those worlds and come back to our world and go, that's not very good. Or, that's pretty good. But they want it to work together. We have screens all around us. Why can't we integrate the screens that we see and that we touch into our wealth world? Well, we do. If you had Salesforce, you'd know how that works, some of the CRM systems. But how can we make that even more dynamic with wealth management clients and with their advisors? But then there's a big question. Are our staff actually technically competent to use these things? Or are we just evolving slowly? How much do we commit in time and resource to train them to be excellent at using the kit that we develop, to be good drivers? Or do we just think that's something they have to do after work? I put it to you that a high-value, highly professional business that we're in, that's almost the centerpiece of our professional development. Make them the best at the kit that we have, because then we can be better at what we do to our clients. And then there are other things that are going on in the world of the platform that we do need to understand in terms of competency. I think we need to recruit more data science people that have data science. I think leaders need to know about how to manage data. At the moment, I'm not sure that they do. Not the data of money management markets. They can pore over spreadsheets from Bloomberg about whether the yen is up or down. But can they pore over the same spreadsheets and really understand it, whether client behavior is moving in one direction or another, or whether markets of customers are moving this way or that? Do they understand that? Do they understand how to manage resources as a consequence of that? We have to calibrate. We have to work out where are our margins of difference. And we may have to break everything back down, start again, untie the laces, and figure out how to run. And that's where we are today, 2015 to 2025. We will need to work together as an industry. I'm tired of an industry that seems to think that the best result is to take money from someone else. The best result is to grow our industry.